any right-minded Athenian would consider to be the real boom docks, but back up beyond, a village in the far northwest of the country, close to the Albanian border, called Samarina, which has some place in the Greek folk legend, but not on the agenda of modern, sophisticated Athenians, and certainly not the younger generation. It's a place which still doesn't have a proper tarmac road, which until not long ago was 2 days' march from the nearest roadhead. A place where semi-nomadic shepherds go, and not really anybody else.
By the end of today's journey, we'll be about as far from tourist Greece as you can get. What I like most about the mountains is the fact that they remain the last repository of the old values, where people, kindness and honour are the most important things in life. We're getting into the heart of the Pindos Mountains here. It's the last stretch of our journey, which we've had to do by taxi because there's no public transport up here. We have to come down a little bit as we approach Samarina itself, although at nearly 1,700 meters, it's the highest village in Greece. It's only occupied in the summertime, for all this high country's under snow in the winter. We're going to see some old shepherd friends of mine. There are 4 brothers in the family, Zogos, Sterios and Vasilis, who run about 2,000 sheep between them, and Nikos, who's a vet and lives in Athens. They'll all be around this weekend, for the August 15th Festival of the Virgin Mary is a big gathering of the clans for the people of Samarina. This is Vasilis. He's the only brother in the village at the moment. The others are out with the sheep. He's got his work cut out over the holiday, keeping this restaurant and butcher's shop going, which he now combines with sheep farming. Samarina isn't normally as crowded as this. The regular summertime population is only the shepherds and their families. These people are all relatives and emigres to the towns who come up once a year for the festival. This is the start of the old path to the high pastures on Mount Smolycus, where we're going to meet up with Zogos and Sterios. It's a beautiful 4-hour hike through woods of black pine and beech into a world that almost predates the wheel, whose rhythms are ruled by the seasons and the needs of the animals.
This is what they call an ikonisma. Just means a little shrine, but you see them at the beginning of every village's territory. This is a little stone pillar with an icon inside, usually a cheap and nasty modern one. And local people keep a flame burning, a wick floating in olive oil, burning in front of the icon. It's just an old tradition, and it's honouring the icon. And also, as Zogos told me once, it's a nice welcoming sign for a traveller arriving, especially after dark. In the days when there was no electricity, you couldn't see any lights anywhere. See this little flame, little window lit up in the darkness, and it told you that civilization, humanity was at hand. A nice reassuring sight to see. And I've experienced it myself to some extent too.
Halfway, we're in the Valle Curna here, the dark valley as it's called, with its magnificent pine trees. This, believe it or not, used to be a nice picnic spot.
until the Albanians came along. This was a forestry cabin with a railing all around it and a little shrine outside with an icon in it. It was all beautifully kept, and people would come and have a picnic here, and if we were coming down with the sheep, we'd stop off and maybe have our lunch here or corral a few sheep here for the goats to put their bells on or something. But this is what's happened to it. I guess it happened about 3 years ago first, when the Albanian regime collapsed, communist regime collapsed, and Albanians started pouring across the frontier in this, well, as you can see, difficult country to patrol, but in very large numbers. I mean, we haven't seen any today, but you often see half a dozen groups of anything between 10 and 30, 40 men, just, you know, hiking, making their way across country into Greece illegally. My friends can't any longer leave a truck on the roadside, you know, with axes or any belongings in it, because it gets stolen.
Here's Sterios at last, bringing his flock back to the pen for the night. It's a lonely life being a shepherd out here in these mountains, and the opportunity for a natter is always welcome. One of my brothers is a sheep farmer in Wales, and my friends are always interested in hearing about the state of sheep farming there. I have to speak Greek with my friends, but their mother tongue is really Vlach. Smolicus, Gramus, and some way down to the south, the high pastures in the mountains have always been grazed by Vlach shepherds, who were an interesting crew. I mean, their language is related to Romanian, but the Vlach dialect has no alphabet, has never been written, has no literature, and nobody quite knows why there should be a community of, you know, of essentially sort of Latin Romanian speaking people so far south in the Balkans. I mean, Romania is way north of here. They're a curious enigma whom nobody has ever been able to explain. And they've lived like this, as far as we know, since time began, spending the summers up here in these high pastures and the winters down in the plains.
Tim, φτιάξτε λίγο από κάτω.
I'm just standing in the pen. Sterios asked me to come in the pen behind the sheep to keep pushing them forward so they go through for him to milk them. Otherwise they sort of hang around and get a bit sleepy, and then he has to wait to pick up each new ewe.
So this is a bit of an odd job for an Englishman abroad to be doing, isn't it?
I think it's a pretty odd job, yes.
How on earth did you come to be doing this?
Well, it's a long and gradual story. I first met these brothers in the woods here, I don't know, maybe must be the best part of 15 years ago. And I kind of liked what I saw, and I was deliberately, well, I just sort of set out to cultivate their friendship until, you know, they allowed me to really to become part of the family, you know, to get involved with, I mean, not only their family life, but with the sheep, and to help out with the sheep and what have you.
The hardest part of the year for the shepherds is nearly over now. This is the last milking and cheese making. Feta cheese is their chief cash crop, along with lambs for the pot. The new lambs will be born when we get down to the lowlands in the autumn.
We're at about 2,000 meters here, and all The Anthoulis family bring all their sheep up to about this height in summertime. Where the best grazing is, lower down, things get burnt up by the sun. And they spend, they spend 4 or 5 months up here, from the end of May until the middle of October, living a kind of life that must have been pretty universal for shepherds throughout the Balkans and maybe all around the Mediterranean until not long ago. But I doubt whether anybody else is living much like this, certainly not in Western Europe. It's Homeric, literally. You read, the story of Odysseus' homecoming in the Odyssey, the shepherds' huts and being recognized by the dogs. Well, they would have been in very similar places, living in a very similar way.
This is Jogos, my particular friend and companion of many adventures with his young son. When I see these pine trees, it's as if I were looking at my whole life, the whole world. Every rock, every tree trunk, every place where the snow lies late, every spring. It's as if they were speaking to me. I mean, I'm deeply attached to all of this.
Είναι δύσκολο τώρα τα παιδιά μας για να μπει στο κορμί.
But for our children, it's difficult. The love for these mountains that we've sort of absorbed in our bodies, the endurance that we've got, they haven't experienced all that. They won't be able to continue our life. And I'm afraid that gradually, these mountains will be deserted and all this will disappear.
Να συνεχίσουν τη ζωή τη δική μας. Και αυτό το σκεφτόμαστε πάντα. Δίνα το λέμε, βλέπουμε αυτά τα μέρη, αυτά τα βουνά, σιγά σιγά να ερημώνουν. Άρα του τσαρά! Του σιδάκια, να πιάψει πιστουργητέ, να την πούν και να αστάρβα είσαι αυτούς. Αλλά του δω άλλο, τους άγω για άλλη να πέσει. Όλα. Για τσίανα. Πεσίλες δώσει.
Everyone here is speaking Vlach, although by nationality some of them are Greek and some Albanian. It's the 20th century frontiers that have split them in two.
Ναι, μου έλεγες από την αρκούδα που ήρθε.
Κοίταξε να δει. Όσον αφορά για τις αρκούδες που είπες, δηλαδή έχει πολλές και ορισμένες είναι και πολύ επικίνδυνες. Μία μεγάλη αρκούδα μας ήρθε τη νύχτα.
I asked Jogos about the bear that attacked the flock the other evening. They were eating by the fire, he said, when the dog started barking wildly and he went to investigate.
Και να τα παίρνουν μπροστά προς την πλευρά μου. Άρχισαν τα σκυλιά βέβαια να ρίχνουν τα πάνω, αλλά...
When I got near, he said, I saw a big bear had got in among the goats and was driving them in my direction. The dogs rushed at it to attack it, but it beat them off.
Μπροστά στα 20-30 μέτρα. Αυτή τη στιγμή ήταν νύχτα, δεν μπορούσα...
It picked up the goat and started tearing at it 20-30 meters in front of me. It was pitch dark and I didn't know what to do. I fired several shots into the air, and the more I fired, the more the dogs, except for two that are scared of the gun, well, the others lunged at it. The bear started to howl, to bellow like they do. Then it started to let go of the goat and charged through the middle of the sheep. And with me firing into the air, the dogs drove it off in the direction of Thomas's place. This is one of Jogus's flocks we've got in the pen, and we're going to pick out some 40 of last year's lambs for the festival.
Hey! Look at that, look at that!
Tykis and myself have been detailed to drive the lambs down to the road, where we'll meet up with another relative's truck. We'll be coming down this same route when we begin the drive to the lowlands in October.
Hadi cheers που λες. Οπα.
Cheers.
Γεια μας.
Γεια μας.
Cheers.
Άντε, γεια. It's feta, but it's feta from Smolicus. Feta from the milk of the mothers of these sheep we've just been driving. And they'll be on the spit, I'm afraid, roasting on Tuesday morning.
Τώρα, κάρπα γιουάι.
These boys are Albanians too, illegal immigrants coming to Greece in search of work. They're lucky they bumped into us and not a police patrol. They want to be put down outside the village so they can dodge round it.
Conditions in Albania are so appalling that they will take all sorts of risks to leave, even at the age of 13 or 14. The Joggers and Co have told me they've seen sort of 10-year-olds coming. I mean, not with their parents, just with another gang of boys. They cross the mountains and they're coming through here on these rough, unmade roads and over the mountains because that way they avoid the Greek army and police who will turn them back if they catch them. But they can only patrol places that are accessible to vehicles.
Today is the 15th of August, the day of the Panagia. Jogos and his elder brother Nikos, who's come up from Athens, are preparing the lamb for the spit. That's the traditional festive meal in Greece, particularly at Easter and for the vlachs at this time of year.
Τούτου εδώ θέλει μεγάλο άνθρωπο, έλα από τον Νικό. Όχι έτσι απ' την άλλη. Έλα από εδώ γιατί δεν έχει φούρκα. Δεν έχει φούρκα εδώ, κατάλαβες. Σραπς! Nice snaps.
Όχι, καταλαβαίνει ελληνικά.
Τα ξέρω όλα καλά. Όλα.
Όχι, καταλαβαίνει ελληνικά.
Ξέρω. Τα ξέρω όλα καλά. Όλα. Αποκατέβηκε ότι είμαι από πάνω Γιάννης και εδώ σήμερα. Λέω ήρθαν όλα μαζί τώρα. Και είχε πάρει ο Βασιλάκης με την κούρσα να βγει προς την περιοχή της Λασσόνους, ανάληψη. Να τον γυρίσει φαντάζομαι. Έκανε 2 μέρες παραπάνω τον δρόμο.
Να σου κάνει. Εσύ άκουγα στην κάμερα.
Δίνω εγώ παιδιά. Άντε κάτσε εκεί. Μην τους μιλήσεις και πολύ με...
Μαμ! Μπορούμε να φέρω στα ξενανία.
Όχι, ίσως πιάτο. Κάινα γύπ, Καζαχτάρι, δεν είσαι τρόμπιτζοντα.
We've got the whole family, in the male line at least, gathered here for lunch. The old lady, who's 90 now, and only recently widowed, is the mother of all my friends. She's really the last of the generation that grew up in the pre-modern age, before roads and radios and contact with the outside non-Vlach world. August 16th, the day after the Panagia, is the day for public jollity. All these rather elegant and prosperous-looking Vlachs from the towns are waiting for the tzatzio, a strange, almost ritual dance that takes place here on the green after church. It's become a bit of a circus now, but the men and women of the village form 2 big concentric circles that slowly revolve to the accompaniment of an ancient song which finally dissolves in shrill whistling, which they say commemorates some far-distant raid by Turks or brigands. this festival rather moving. All these people who have little real connection with Vlach life anymore come back once a year to dip their roots, as it were, in their origins, to renew old acquaintance and family ties. It's a really unself-conscious, happy occasion, enjoyed by young and old alike. And this is practically the end of the season for Samarina. The new school year begins soon, and all the families with school-aged kids will return to their lowland villages, leaving just the shepherds and the elderly who've never really got used to living in the Greek-speaking plains. And then in October, the flocks too will go down, leaving the village to the bears, wolves and winter snows.